XconMedia.
Welcome to the channel. Appreciate you tapping in, man. This is a sad situation and a very sad story that I don't believe is getting enough attention. So I'm gonna bring it to my platform. So please talk about it, share it out, comment below. We need to get some things viral because I'm gonna talk about why this is a problem, and I'm gonna talk about why elected officials in North Carolina is the reason why this happened to this young woman. This lady survived Ukraine. She survived Putin only to come over here and sit in free America on a transit train where weapons are prohibited and lose her life like this. Viewer discretion is advised. I can't show the video, but this one I believe has enough uh uh mm, it's disturbing video. So viewer discretion is advised. You already see right here, this dude is sick. He's super sick.
This stop is Scalymark Station. Please exit right.
Young woman, 23 years old, from Ukraine, getting on the train, coming from work, and he's sitting right behind her. We don't know what he thinking at this point, but we about to find out what he thinking. This is crazy on so many levels.
Please stand clear. Doors are closing. Train is about to move.
This right here is why I tell people all the time, you got to pay attention to your surroundings. You can't trust nothing. You got to not let people get this close to you. This girl was just on her way home from work, come to this country to get a better life. From what I understand, she was here legally. From what I understand, and to lose her life, you survived Putin only to come to this right here. This is crazy, man. Um, yeah. Little bitty blade. It did it, man. This right here is after. And he look at all the blood on the floor. People just I don't know if the people not realizing what just happened. I think this dude did. Nobody helped this young woman. Nobody is helping this woman. They trying to vacate the premises, but nobody trying to help the woman. Everybody moving. They all scared. Nobody on the train got a firearm.
This stop is East West Boulevard Station. Please
All
exit
them
by
folks is thinking about is getting off this train. Now they run. Oh my goodness. I can't believe these people actually sat here and watched this go down like this. All them people on that train and they sat there and watched it go down. Ah, now everybody, everybody don't have a sister. You know, some of y'all only have brothers, or some of y'all didn't have siblings at all. Um, but everybody in this world got a mama or had a mama at some point in their life. So if you a person with any kind of heart, this right here ought to make you mad, regardless of race, regardless of whatever. This right here should have you mad as hell, because this young woman did not. I thought about this all day after I seen the real video, and it is so sad that I'm speechless. And then I thought, why is this like this? Why is it like this? You know, so me working public transportation in Atlanta, um, people are allowed to get on the train in Atlanta with firearms, trains, buses, or whatever. People carry their firearms in the city. You know what I'm saying? And this is why society, these lawmakers fail us, because y'all more interested in protecting these criminals than you are these law-abiding citizens. Because the law in North Carolina, let me pull it up real quick, when it comes to the transit system.
The Charlotte Area Transit System explicitly bans weapons on board its vehicles. From its official code of conduct, passengers are prohibited from carrying, open quote, any dangerous weapon within immediate access PA. City of Charlotte, additionally, another CATS policy, listed under Rules to Remember When Riding CATS, reiterates, close quote, open quote, do not carry weapons, firearms, flammable materials, explosives, or corrosive liquids on board. BR-CAT's bottom line, Charlotte transit operator policies clearly prohibit carrying firearms or any weapon on buses or trains, regardless of permits or gun laws, close quote. North Carolina state law perspective.
So regardless of if you got a permit, let me get this straight. Even people that have a concealed carry permit, it makes you a felon. You turn into a felon when you step on this train. Somebody on that train may have had a firearm, but because they know that they will be a felon if they step in, possibly, they just turn and look the other way. And you people keep voting for Democrats. You keep voting for Democrats. You keep voting for Democrats. These folks been smacking us in the face since the beginning of time, and y'all keep voting for them. Make it make sense. This law did not stop this young woman from losing her life. Somebody could have whipped out, because I'm telling you right now, had I been on that train, we was having court right there. Ain't no turning and looking the other way, because I don't know who this dude. Remember, in Michigan a month or two ago, some dude went around in Walmart and he stabbed like 11 people. So it's a very big difference between somebody that'll shoot somebody, a mass shooter, or a mass stabber. It's a big difference. You gotta really, really, really have a lot of hatred in your heart, and really be demon possessed to just walk around and just stab people. You gotta really be messed up in the head for real. It's one thing to shoot. I'm not justifying it. It's one thing for a mass shooter to do what he do, but a mass stabber, that's a different, that I don't even think people understand what that really means. So while they around here passing all these laws banning the Second Amendment, because this what the forefathers meant for the Second Amendment to do, is protect yourself. Not only from a tyrannical government, not only from threats that are foreign and domestic, but from lunatics like this, from clowns like this. This little girl did not stand a chance. And if this lunatic would have attacked somebody else on the train, nobody couldn't have defend themselves, because probably nobody had a firearm on them because of that dumbass law. You can't even have a permit and ride the trains and buses in Charlotte with your firearm. And a firearm is exclusively supposed to be for hunting and protection. There's no other reasons that firearms should be used. You should never use a firearm to go on an attack or to rob somebody or to do this or do that. They are for strictly for defense or hunting. This is a very sick individual, and they should have had court right there. Now, North Carolina got to spend all this money, because it's always a dog and pony show when the world just seen this video. But I guarantee you, this guy is not going to trial for maybe another year or two, possibly 3. We don't know if President Trump said they should be going for the death penalty. Who knows if they going to do it? Who knows if North Carolina even carry the death penalty? We don't know. So now this dude here in the county jail laying up on taxpayers' money, when somebody should have took him out and had court right there on the train. But y'all keep voting for these Democrats, and they steady disarming you. I think North Carolina is considered in the South. I believe that's a southern state. And they are the only state in the South that is not constitutional carry. Make it make sense. But y'all keep voting for Democrats. You don't know none of the history about the Democrats from even before all of us was here. Go do some research at who was trying to keep black people in bondage way back then. When I did my research and looked at the Supreme Court justices and what their parties was, most of the time, and I mean like 90% of the time, it was always a Democrat voting to keep black people messed up. I would never vote for Democrats again, because Democrats are only interested in protecting. See, the rules say don't, y'all just heard the rules for yourself. It says no weapons on the public transit system. You think a criminal, this is a prime example that criminals don't care about what law you come up with. They don't care about what law you come up with. They're still gonna do this. Y'all are more interested in disarming people that do follow the law. Y'all all for the criminals. This is crazy. Now, I did run into another video. I ran into a video of the sheriff of Butts County, Georgia, down there in Jackson. Shout out to that sheriff, man, because he got on here and he really put his stance down and how it should be. And listen, if for nothing else, for no other reason, I had to leave the Democrat Party, if for no other reason, is that these Republicans, most of them are Second Amendment first. So I'm all about people having the right to protect themselves. That's a lifelong fight for me. So I'm all about that. But let's check out what this sheriff of Butts County said.
Morning. As we head on into the afternoon, anyone who uses public transportation has likely heard of this high-profile story involving a Ukrainian refugee who was unfortunately stabbed to death on Charlotte public transportation. It has really gripped the nation because her death was caught on camera. You see the suspect do this horrible act against this young woman who was already trying to flee and save her own life from the violence that's happening in Ukraine. So we are now turning to Butts County Sheriff Gary Long, who has put out this message to anyone who has a gun to use it. And Sheriff Long, before I start to ask you a couple of questions, I want to give people just a little bit of the backstory on this. This woman, Iryna Zarutska, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing her name, was just 23 years old when she was on the Charlotte light rail. And she had moved to Charlotte from Ukraine. She worked several jobs in the US. And unfortunately, her family says she's now going to be buried here because someone who had a long rap sheet killed her for no apparent reason. So good morning to you. Tell us more about why you say gun holders, legal ones, should be prepared.
Thanks for having me. You know, it's you said it best. It's horrific what happened, and almost 30 years of doing this, I would say that what I watched on that video was more than alarming. You know, there was 5 or 6 other men standing really close in proximity, and nobody did nothing. You know, this could have turned out a lot worse. I mean, there could have been a whole lot more victims, I would say, in this deal. But, you know, I think what we're getting to in America, you know, everybody wants to make this about a Republican issue or a Democratic issue, but it's not that. It's a American issue, and our communities have become soft targets, and there's not repercussions for what's happening for these violent acts. You know, the fastest way the states across the country like to save money is to put people back out of prison. I'm not saying prison's for everybody, and not everybody should sit in prison forever, but a violent criminal with a violent past that commits violent crimes should stay in prison, period. But I think as sheriff, it's my job to protect and serve. My deputies are going to protect, but just as this incident in Charlotte, North Carolina, there's not an officer on the scene, or there's not an officer assigned to everybody in a community that can't be there. So the first line of defense is that of the public. And it's, it was kind of like a light went off, and it's like, we've got to train our people to protect themselves. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to run firearms. We've been running citizen firearm courses. I'm going to run them every month as long as I have to run it to do this. And I believe when the violent criminal element realizes that in our county, we're not going to be soft targets. We're going to stand up to them. And it might, unfortunately, in this case, I hear this a lot. People will call me and say, well, Sheriff, I don't really think this could have been stopped. No, I don't either. It was so fast, so rapid, and so instant. There was no aid rendered immediately that could have possibly saved their life. So I'm also teaching the Stop the Bleed class to the public. But it's one of those things. What would have happened if somebody would have stepped up and intervened? Thank God we didn't have 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 people stabbed, because nobody's doing nothing. And it's just tragic. And 30 years of doing this, probably one of the worst senseless crimes that I've physically seen on a video.
Yeah, and we're showing some of that video right now while being respectful, of course, because the whole thing was caught on camera. So we are stopping it before any actual violence. Of course, we know the terrible fate that this 23-year-old ended up in, but we're also showing images of the suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr. I want to point out that Charlotte's mayor is blaming this on the court system, saying that had it done its job, this suspect wouldn't have been out there on the train, wouldn't have been out there on the streets, wouldn't have had access to anyone, let alone someone who was already trying to protect themselves, trying to start a new life. So can you speak to how the court system, with just a few seconds left here, plays a role in this?
No, I think we see all too often, we're a little different. We're outside of the metro area, kind of a rural county. But what I see across the country is judges bring this up. There, you have RICO charges that there was probable cause, that the warrant's done, just the case you talked to a minute ago, and a judge has just dismissed all the RICO charges. We see this all the time, and I think it comes down to the people of this country need to elect judges that's going to do the right thing, and hold violent criminals where they need to be. And that's not on the streets, that's in jail. So I'm going to agree with the mayor of Charlotte completely. And I think that's one step. That's one step of the problem, is the court system. The other problem is we've become a society that it's like, we don't want to get involved in that, and it's not our business. But as sheriff, I am going to work tooth and nail, day in and day out, to make this community a known community, that we're going to protect our people, not just law enforcement. The people are going to protect the people. But yes, I agree with the mayor of Charlotte 100%, and that's where it all starts, is in the justice system and in the courtrooms.
I want to point out your own words. You tweeted about this. That's how we got you on the line and on our air and streaming with us. Can you tell us a little bit about what you said on social media? We have an image of it for those of you who want to take a look.
It's a very emotional video to watch, and doing this so long, and it's sickening. And I just, I'm a firm believer. It's common sense sometimes doesn't seem to be so common. But here's what I know out of 30 years of doing this: an armed community is a safe community. Period. An armed community is a safe community. And it's just it deeply bothered me to see nobody intervene. And it bothers me that, look, I'm not saying it would have saved her life. I've talked to paramedics, I've talked to nurses this morning, I talked to one doctor, and I said, could her life had been saved if aid was rendered immediately? And he said, well, heck, I'm not a doctor nor a nurse. So I was asking people, and it could have been, but it was just alarming. So I wanted to put that out there, but I want to put out to the public that we don't have to be soft targets. We don't have to be soft targets. And here I had one comment on that post. They said, well, Daniel Penny in New York got arrested. He had to go to trial on this. Well, I can assure you this, as sheriff of this county, I can't speak for Fulton, Clayton, DeKalb. I can't speak any county in the state, but I can speak for this county. If somebody defends themselves or a third person from a violent attack, if they went to jail, I'm going to jail with them. Period. Bottom line, I'm going to jail with them because they haven't.
Well, listen, I gotta salute that. I got to salute that. I gotta salute that. We appreciate your service, Sheriff, for real.
A right to defend themselves. Even though this guy is walking off that train, has a knife in his hand, if somebody said, well, you can't have a gun on transit in Charlotte. I understand that. But if somebody would have pulled out a knife and stabbed him in the back and killed him, it's justified. He showed a propensity for violence. He just stabbed this lady, and he could have stabbed 10 other people along the way. So it's one of those things. Leaders in law enforcement need to train the community. Like, a lot of the community doesn't know these things. I learned this through the classes we teach, and it's our responsibility, I feel, as the sheriff elected in this county, to educate my public on how they can defend themselves, and that's what we're going to do.
Right. One of the producers just told me that Charlotte lawmakers are right now discussing this, as they should be. It's such a high-profile situation and such a heartbreaking one that you would imagine that they are trying to figure out a resolve here. And it might not be apparent. But I also want to point out our commander-in-chief, the president himself, and I'm looking at my notes here, has called for the death penalty for this suspect in this Charlotte light rail stabbing. If you look at this image on your screen right now, it says criminals like this, according to the president, need to be locked up. And he puts that in all caps. He goes on to say, and now her blood is on the hands of Democrats who refuse to put bad people in jail. And I also want to point out here that Charlotte's mayor has still secured a Democratic nomination, despite how political this has become, this awful tragedy. If you could, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that Atlanta has public transportation. We are often concerned about safety on MARTA. I myself was at a MARTA station after a Beyonce concert. And while I'm very grateful that everyone was okay, there was a.
Appreciate that, Sheriff. Man, people, you got the right to protect yourself. And even though the sheriff said this is not a party thing, in essence, he's correct. It is not. It should be a people thing. However, you got people that are Democratic that are super Democratic. You got people that are super Republican. Okay. So where do we draw the line? That is the question for society. Where do we draw the line? Where do we bring compromise with that? Democrats don't want you to own firearms. They want to restrict everything. If you look at all of the problems in all of the city, if you look at the problems in all of these major cities, they are Democratic. Chicago, Baltimore, Memphis, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Boston, Massachusetts, major problems. Gary, Indiana, major problems. Major problems. Birmingham, Alabama, major problems. It's because these Democratic leaders are setting people up to fail. And as long as I can, I'm going to try to make it be known. These Democrats, man, if y'all just go back and do your history, these Democrats ain't never been for the people, and for black people even less. Yet they steady try to take our face and put it on the front of their campaign. They're not with you, people. Pay attention. Rest in peace to this young woman. It didn't have to be like this. But them elected leaders in Charlotte, North Carolina, they set it up. They set this up for her and possibly the rest of the people that was on that train by that dumbass law that they got up there. Thank you for tuning into XconMedia. Go right ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hurry up!